All right, I think we're live. I'm not sure if anybody is on. I'm doing this kind of at the last second here, so we'll see if anyone hops on. Let me see if I can pull up the comments, get myself organized here. Let's see. Let me pull this up. All right, I think I got everything up here set. All right, cool. So I figure people will jump in as we go. This is kind of last second. I kind of tired. I don't know if you can tell my eyes. Been doing a lot of work today, so I figured I'd just hop on, do a live stream today to talk about some things I'm thinking about regarding Tesla. But right as I was about to hop on here, we got some news about a new EV tax credit or Tesla increasing their discounts to $7,500. So I'm just going to kind of go ahead and just jump into this, see what's going on here. So let me pull this up. Hey, Megan. Hey, Chadwick. How's everybody doing? Let me pull this up. I'm going to pull up their website to see if this is true because this kind of just came up out of nowhere. So I'll go ahead and share my screen with you guys. So let's see. So apparently they've raised it from $3,500 to $7,500 if you purchased a vehicle within the month. So let's just see what happens here. Okay, let's see. Continue to pay. Okay, well, I still just see the $3,750. This came from Electric. Let me see if I can pull it up here for you guys. Oh, wait, that might have been it right there. Tesla increases discount. Yeah, so take a look at this. Apparently, Tesla's increasing discount or price adjustment, as it calls it, to $7,500 on all Model 3s and Model Y vehicles delivered this month. So that's interesting, especially since we get the $7,500 tax credit coming in next month. So I'm actually happy to see this happening. I think just in general, we're seeing a lot of, I don't want to say demand issues, just a lot of inventory buildup in China and here in the States. I mean, you see this with all automakers right now, but obviously anything with Tesla or Elon Musk is going to get highlighted. But right now, with it being so close to next year, where everybody will get their $7,500 discount on any electric vehicle that falls within the scope of the IRA. It almost makes no sense for those people to purchase now instead of waiting for January 1st to roll over, right? So like the only people that would be purchasing now and really wouldn't care about that really fall into two camps. Either one, people who had a pre-order already and the price that they locked in was just a better price than what even that tax credit would give them. And I think at that point, there aren't that many. Or two, essentially individuals making over 200,000, I think it is, or couples making over 300,000, they don't qualify for the credit. So this creates this like huge like gap, right? So I think most people are probably going to just push off what they're doing. So, but anyways, that's interesting if that's true about the $7,500 tax credit there. That might be something actually we look into if that's real. Again, I've been trying to hold off on buying a new car until the Cybertruck comes out, which inevitably should be happening coming up here in hopefully June, July. And I still don't think I would get mine for another year, but still, this does make it almost reasonable to go for. Anyways, not really what I want to talk about today. And really, I didn't have much of an agenda to talk about. I just kind of want to talk about Tesla stock, the economy, the macro, what's going on with everything. And, are we at peak capitulation? Are we at peak fear? Are we at the end of this entire noise and, pain that everybody seems to be going through? Because, man, if the rhetoric isn't ramped up right now, I don't know what is. It seems like everybody's fighting with each other. Everybody's angry. Everybody's pissed. Everybody seems to be the person who has the right idea, the right thoughts about everything. And, man, it's heated out there. It's just on another level. And the scarier thing is, I don't think it's over. I think we're still in for for a little more pain. I know that's not a popular thing to say, and I probably get called lots of names for saying something like that, but I think it's the reality. I mean, if you just think about what we have coming up, I do think there are some headwinds for Tesla stock, not Tesla the company per se. And it's funny because though something may be good for Tesla the company, it seems like it might be bad for Tesla the stock. And so the main thing that I see is the, call it Q4 total delivery numbers, right? Right now, Wall Street has about a number of 430,000. And I think that either we're not going to make it or we'll make it. And either way, it's bad, right? For short-term stock perspective. And the reason it's bad is because, well, if you're just meeting expectation and you're a company that is expected to have this huge growth with this high multiple, well, then you expect outperformance. And it's not just that, but once we get onto the Q1 earnings, I mean, Elon has been pretty blunt about this, right? He's been pretty blunt. Don't have margin, don't have debt. The macro's bad. Things probably won't get better until 2024. I mean, he's not sugarcoating it. So for anyone who still wants to blame him for all this, like he can't make it any more obvious. I mean, he even said in a tweet yesterday that a close friend of his, who's I guess a big investor, is shorting the S&P 500 right now. So I mean, if that's not telling you everything you need to know, and not just that, but Elon's selling as well, probably to cover his own margin calls from the Twitter acquisition. But still, if he thought that there's going to be any relief soon with Tesla, the stock, he probably would have tried to wait to sell, right? I mean, just logic kind of makes you think that, unless he had a time limit because of his margin call, who knows? But anyways, I think there are headwinds coming up, and it's only headwinds for the stock short term because it's just the way Wall Street works, right? And it's the way the media works right now, and they have nothing better to talk about other than Tesla and Elon Musk. I mean, literally, if you turn on just about any news channel, or even just look at any of Elon's tweets, those are the news stories right now for everybody. Anything Elon tweets, that's a news article, that's a news story, that's a hot segment. So it's kind of crazy the times we're in right now. But anyways, because of that, if Tesla delivers 430,000 vehicles, even though that's going to be a record number, even though really everybody should be proud of this because, again, it's a record number and they're going to have a record margin, or maybe not record margins, but they're going to have record profitabilities, record revenue, right? Everything's going to be essentially a record for them, but it's not record enough despite the fact that we're in this climate we're in. And they might have record margins. I mean, Elon keeps talking about how he's seen very clearly that there's deflation, that the Fed is screwing up once again. He's very clearly saying all of this, and he's seen everything in real time. It's one of my biggest beefs with the way we work from it's not just the Fed, but just in general, how we get all of our metrics, whether it's CPI, PPI, PCE, right? All of these things, they're just so backwards looking. And the fact that we get these numbers once a month, it's just ridiculous. It's 2022. Like, it's not that difficult. Take the CPI, for example. The CPI measures, X amount of goods, all right? And obviously housing's a component, right? All these things. But the point I'm trying to get at is it's not that hard in 2022 to have instant day-to-day price reflections of those goods. It's not that difficult to do. So it makes no sense for us to be waiting an entire month to get data when we can have real-time data and make actual nuanced decisions based on what we're seeing. And anyway, so Elon is in that camp of that nuance because, well, he's in all these different sectors that touch all these different components across many different industries and sectors. So he can see that we are in a deflationary period now. But for that to make it through, it takes some time. So anyways, so I think delivery numbers will probably be a headwind for Tesla stock. Then we get into Q1 earnings, and I'd be surprised if we don't hear some kind of maybe not a downbeat, verbiage, rhetoric, or something from them, but at least more of a sobering conversation and guidance. I'm sure the guidance will still be the same, right? The guidance is pretty textbook for them, over a multi-year horizon, 50% year-over-year growth, right? That's pretty par for the course for Tesla. But if they say anything that they're seeing softness or seeing some weakening in China, et cetera, that's going to put more pressure on the stock. So anyways, I said this the other day, and I'm sticking by it. I'm not buying any more shares for a little bit now, mainly just because I want to acquire as much as I can, and I don't think we're done going down. And so, if I were to keep buying at 150, 140, 130, and I think it might get down to $100, well, that's a lot of shares I could have accumulated that I missed out on. So it's not so much that I'm not buying Tesla, is I'm not buying more Tesla yet. So I'm trying to be a little smarter with it. And I think a lot of people are starting to wise up to this. It only took a whole year of discount of dollar cost averaging to finally get to a point where I'm saying, you know what, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna stockpile cash. I'm gonna wait, and then I'll buy when I feel like, okay, we are really at a good place. And so, what am I looking at for this good place to buy Tesla? So there's a few things I'm looking at. One, I'm looking to get past the delivery numbers and maybe past Q1 earnings. That honestly, like if I just used like a quick, simple, dirty metric, it might just be that, because at that point, I feel like so much noise will have been baked in, so much pessimism will be baked in that it'll be great, right? It'll be a great time to buy. But ideally, the real things that would signal me to come back in are, one, the Fed. I don't even want to say that they actually stop increasing rates, but they at least signal that they understand that we are heading in the right direction meaningfully in a good way. They like what they see, right? Some kind of positivity. And maybe they say, okay, this is why we've decided to pause rate hikes. And even if that means we stay higher for longer, I think just getting to that point, that would be great for the macro in general. The second thing that I had been waiting for was really to see what happens with China. So I think now we're going to go through a hard time in China, right? So I'm happy to see where we're at right now. I'm happy to see that, they're moving through the lockdowns and kind of getting rid of all of that, doing a 180. But now there's going to be pain there probably. And they're going to, COVID's going to rip through them. And on the other side of that, it'll be better. And so that's something else that we have to get through. And that's something just to keep in mind, because, don't think that China slowing down doesn't have an impact on the rest of the world, because it does. And then the third thing is this Russia-Ukraine thing. Ironically, we're kind of coming up on a year of this war, and President Zelensky is, I guess, here in the States meeting with the president, speaking to Congress. But there's this sticking point now with the Patriot missiles, and whether or not that gets delivered to them, and whether or not they start using it, and then what does Russia do? So it's almost, like 1 year removed. If this happens, if this goes through, if they get these Patriot missiles, it's almost like we're back in February all over again, where tensions are just risen all over. So these are like the three main things that I'm looking at just in general. And so how low can Tesla go? Well, really, Tesla can go quite low. I know a lot of people are like feeling a lot of pain. It's down, call it 60% for the year. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But look, we always talk about long-term on this channel. And the reason we talk about long-term is because this short-term narrative is just, it's noise, right? Short-term, it's just, like, there's no other way to say it. Like, you can't really make sense of it. You can't actually have good fundamental analysis. Like, true companies aren't measured on a 1 year basis, right? So like if you go back, I think 5 years, 10 years, and you look at Tesla's returns, right? It's still up, 500%, 600%, something like that. I haven't done the math, but numbers are crazy. And you compare that to anybody else, and it's not even close. I don't even think Apple did that well over that time period. So sure, it's down 60% for the year, but it's up 500-600% over the last 5 years. I would say that's pretty damn good. So I get it. Look, obviously, if you're down 60%, I'm down 60% in my portfolio. So it's not like it's fun, but we'll get back to all-time highs. It'll happen. We'll get there. It's just a matter of time. Let's see. Let me jump over here. Like I said, I just want to hop on, just kind of talk to you guys. So let's see. Hey, we got someone from Colorado. Maybe I should upgrade my Model 3. What would you upgrade to? A newer version, a performance, a Model Y? I love the Model Y. I feel like the Model Y is honestly the perfect car. If you've never been in one or driven one, it just meets everything that you need from like it's big enough to hold many people. It's fast. I love the panoramic roof versus the 3 that has the bar in the middle. It's got plenty of room. It's got good range. It's not as big as an X. It's not as expensive as an S. It's just, I don't know. I feel like the Model Y definitely just hits that point. And it's probably why it's going to be the best selling car in the world. Let's see. What the hell is going on here? Thought we were going to bounce, but no way, not this year. Yeah, I don't see this happening at all. And anyone who's hoping for it, I'm not saying it can't happen, right? Anything can happen. But I don't think Tesla stock's going to bounce because, what do we have? I mean, I don't even know how many days we actually have left in this year where the stock market's going to be open. But let's say it's a week and a half maybe. You're not going to have a lot of action, a lot of volume. And if you do, it's probably people selling. It's probably people tax loss harvesting. So in other words, they're selling now so that they can take those losses as essentially as a tax deduction. And so honestly, the rest of this year, there's no real reason for Tesla to go up at this point. There's no benefit at all at this point. I mean, you do see some people like ARK Invest starting to accumulate a little bit here and there, but even them, as they accumulate, the next day you see it's down 10%. So, it's just the market we're in right now. It's not the right time, but I don't think 2023 is going to be like this the entire year, by the way. I'm actually fairly optimistic about 2023. And the reason is because everybody's pessimistic about 2023. And there's one thing we know, it's when everybody thinks one thing, the opposite tends to happen. All right, let's see. And I'm not reading these beforehand, so I apologize ahead of time if anything inappropriate comes up. So hopefully Megan doesn't put anything inappropriate here. Let me make a wild prediction. Before earnings of Q4 come out, Tesla will suggest a new compensation package for Elon based on new EBITDA and market cap targets, and a shareholder will approve it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this worked out well for us last time, right? I guess maybe if it was like a $10 trillion valuation that it was based off of, people would say yes, but I don't think he's going to get a new package anytime soon. I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. I would like to see it. I would love to see this, and I would approve it personally, but that's just because that would mean that, Elon's sticking around. The current low share price is a great starting point for some wild targets we like to see, and Tesla will succeed. Yeah, that's literally one of the reasons why I'm not buying right now, why I'm just holding, is because if it's going to go lower, then, I mean, again, sure, okay, so let's say I had $1,000, right, and I bought at 150, okay, I could do that, or I could wait and buy at 100 and literally get 50% more. I kind of like the idea of that. So especially when I think we're going to go so much higher, and we're going to talk in a little bit here. Hopefully I don't forget about this, but I do want to talk about financial independence with relation to Tesla, because there are some signals of how I think we can look at this that are pretty conservative to get to a certain point by 2030. So anyways, let's keep going here. Low, cheap. Let's see. Still only $37.50. Yeah, that's what I saw. But so I guess the article is kind of saying that you can talk to the salesperson there and they can give you up to $7,500. So let's see. China was fine for Nike. Yeah, that's a good point, but it's also a little different, right? That's like you're comparing like $100 shoes, $35 shirts, $50, $60 pants compared to, $40,000, $50,000 purchase. Like, it's not quite the same. But I hope you're right. I mean, I'd rather you be right than me be right in this case. Beautiful girls here. Gotta love the spam bots. Cool. Megan, oh my God. All right, let's see. Earnings is the only thing that could save Tesla. There's nothing that Tesla needs to be saved. Like this is something that I also think is just a lot of noise, and I think the Tesla community is doing this a lot to themselves. It's weird. We're in a place where Tesla community is its own worst enemy right now. And it's probably because there's a lot of new Tesla shareholders and they've never been through these waves with Tesla. So they're new to it, or they bought higher, or maybe you're not new and you're here and you're sick of going through this again. You thought we weren't going to have to go through this once Tesla was profitable and they had lots of money in the bank. But hey, we're here. And so the reason I don't think earnings can save Tesla, or why it doesn't even matter, is because, look, Tesla's had good earnings. This entire year, Tesla's had good earnings, right? Yet that hasn't meant anything. It hasn't meant literally anything. The stock has continued to fall. Now, I know like you can like throw in the whole Twitter thing if you want, but the point is nothing is really going to change with the stock price until there is something significant that happens. And I don't even think it can be just one thing, right? So it's either something happen, and really, I don't think anything will change in the market if it doesn't start with the Fed and the US economy. That is where it has to start. From there, we can pivot, right? From there, you can maybe add something else. Maybe it's, Russia-Ukraine thing gets resolved. Maybe it's Elon gets CEO for Twitter and there's less noise there. Maybe it's not even that. Maybe nothing happens. But it's just the two things that happen are the Fed, right? That's got to happen. For anything to change, that has to be the must. But you have that, and then you throw in the Cybertruck, and that comes out, and that gets released, right? Or they announce the new, I don't want to say Model 2, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The new iteration, the new vehicle, the new platform, FSD, right? I mean, there's so many things that could kick it off, but at the core, you're going to have the Fed be part of that. Nothing's going to change in this environment at all until that is taken care of. And so, in my opinion, it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when, not if. And so we got to be patient with that. Let's see. Megan says, me and Tucker are in the car listening. You have a killer podcast voice. Would 10 out of 10 listen? Well, that's nice. Let's see. What's the lowest forward PE I can press? 0? No, I mean, who knows at this point, right? Like look, at this point, it's a guessing game. At this point, this is the time to, in my opinion, save and accumulate for the long term. And again, like I know everybody talks about like dollar cost averaging, and there's nothing wrong with, and none of this financial advice. This is just some weird looking guy on the other side of the screen talking to you guys. But dollar cost averaging is great, I would say, in normal times. Right now, when you see Tesla, and we talk about Tesla, but really it's the stock market in whole, right? But I'm just talking about Tesla. Whenever you see it falling the way it is, it doesn't really make sense to me to keep dollar cost averaging, especially when I know what headwinds are going to be coming up forward ahead of us. And so right now, I'm just holding off and I'm saving. And frankly, I say this a lot. We should really listen to the people who have been right about this for quite some time, right? And these are people that I've listened to. I was listening to Farzad's interview with Gali from Hyperchange, and Gali was even saying, he's like, he hasn't bought a single share of Tesla since like 2020, 2019, because for him it's like, okay, well, it's the valuation is so much higher, like I don't feel good about buying it. But now, if it gets down to 100, 110, well, that's when he's going to be accumulating. And it's just ironic that he used those numbers because I used that the other day. But I feel the same way. I mean, I'm not by any means someone who likes looking at charts or anything. But if you do look at the chart, it definitely looks like that there's kind of a huge volume gap down until you get to about 110, 100. So that definitely seems like that is a place where we're going. And there's nothing really to support the stock right now to keep it from going there. So I mean, between all these headwinds, right, these last 2 weeks where we're going to have low volume, people probably tax loss harvesting, you're going to have, again, the headwinds with the deliveries, whatever they say during the Q1 earnings, right? All of that, all those events, who knows what happens with Russia and Ukraine and the US and the Patriot missiles, all of that, by the end of January, all of that should have happened. All of that should be baked in. And it's of my opinion that might be a nice time to go ahead and unload. So again, I plan on buying. I'm just waiting until we get to kind of those lower prices, and I'm just going to throw everything in there. And with my luck, we'll drop another 50%. But I don't really care. Again, I don't care because I'm looking at the long term. And I know, like, it's hard to hear that, right? It's hard to hear that messaging about think about the long term when all you're seeing is the more and more you put your money into this, the more and more it's going down. But that's kind of the name of the game, right? It's like you fail until you succeed. Well, it's kind of what happens here, right? You're investing, you're putting in the work, and then eventually you get the results on the other side. But this is the part that sucks. But this is the difference between the people who become financially independent, the people who become like a Warren Buffett, a Ron Barron, a Chamath, a Ghali, a Farzad. Like, this is it. This is the difference, is the people that go through these tough times. And like Elon would say, it's like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. Like, just think about that. And so it's not, there's nothing Elon's going to do or say. There's nothing that will happen with Twitter. There's no magic wand that can be waved. We have to go through this. We have to go through this cycle. We're sick right now. Right now we're sick. We're getting better. We're starting to get better. You know, we see CPI coming down, see the Fed slowing down, right? PEs are compressing. We're getting to better levels. We're healing, but we're not fully there yet, right? You know, we can, you know, maybe we still got a little sore throat, right? We're getting there. You guys get the analogy. Let me throw this up. No FUD with SpaceX. That may change years in the future when Elon sells shares to fund his Mars mission. That's funny. Elon mentioned that this is a buying opportunity for Tesla today on Twitter, given his honest opinion when he mentions that the stock was overpriced a few times before. Do you feel the stock is oversold? So two things can be true here. Do I think the stock's oversold? Drastically. It's drastically oversold. But this is short-term thinking. And this is where opportunity can be made, right? And I could be wrong though, right? We could all be wrong. We could all have this vision, this narrative of Tesla, and really we're all wrong. We're all grossly wrong, and really Tesla shouldn't be worth more than Toyota. That's a possibility, right? I mean, who knows? We'll know in the future. But so yes, I do think it's oversold. In my opinion, Tesla today should be about a $1,200, well, pre-split, a $1,200 stock, so about $400 today. And that would be accounting for all the macro headwinds, the potential slowdown Tesla in China and everything. That's my opinion, right? If we were a year back, I think Tesla should have been about, in today's stock split prices, about $600 a share. And so with all the pain of everything, it should be $400. That's how I look at it. But again, this is coming from the perspective that I can see what I expected to be in 2030, work my way backwards. Not everybody thinks like that, right? There's a lot of people who are also getting hurt with margin calls. I mean, man, like, let me show you something. I'm going to show you a poll that I had put up on Twitter. Let me see if I can find this. And it talked about, or I asked people about whether or not they have margin. So let me share my screen here. And you should be able to see it. Okay. So do you have a margin loan now? Are you getting margin called? Okay. So if you don't know what this is, a margin loan essentially is saying, let's say you have $200,000 in your brokerage account. Well, and let's say your brokerage is E-Trade. E-Trade says, hey, I will loan you an additional 50% on top of what you have there as assets, and you can spend as you want, and you pay me a small interest payment, right? So that's what a margin loan is. But here's the caveat. The reason you're getting that extra 50%, so now you can have $300,000 that you could trade with, buy, whatever, do whatever you want, is because you have that $200,000 there that they could always liquidate to replace your 100,000 should something happen. Now, what happens is if you have $200,000, you borrow $100,000, and right, that 50% is the limit. Anything over a 50% ratio, that's where they say, okay, you need to put more money or you need to liquidate some of your holdings, right? So that's the balance. So what happens is if all your money is in the stock market, in any stock at this point, and the valuation of that goes from 200 down to 100,000, well, now you got a problem, because now you have a loan of $100,000 and you have $100,000 sitting there in assets. And guess what? That's not that 50% ratio. So they're going to essentially make you sell to cover what you have going on there, or you have to put money in there. So I think there's a lot of that going on. Anyways, so that's what a margin loan is. And margin called is when that happens, right? When they're saying, hey, you got 5 days to come up with the cash or to sell. And they can force liquidate you if they want. So we have, call it 12% of people saying that they, yes, have margin loans out, and yes, they're getting margin called. We have another 13% that say that they have margin loans out, but they're not getting margin called. 66% people say no, they don't. So about 25% of people have margin loans out right now. So that's, like, you got to keep in mind, like that's what we're dealing with a lot of this. And so whenever the stock goes down, when any of these stocks go down, if there's a lot of people with margins or margin loans and they start getting called, well, it becomes this domino effect, right? So it's not just a matter of, okay, the stock's down today, but then it gets amplified, or people get scared that they're about to get margin called, right? And it just becomes this perpetual thing. And we have been living in this environment where it behooved you to take loans out and to have more money out there. And honestly, it was smart. It was smart to take out a lot of mortgages at essentially free interest rates, right? That made sense. It did. Now it's not making so much sense, but if you locked in those rates, great. The thing with margin is you're not exactly locking anything in, because it's all based off of the value of the assets you have there and what's backing it. So it just becomes this very, very, very nasty place you can be in. There's another poll I had put up. I want to show you guys. I hadn't gotten around to this, but let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I thought it was an interesting poll. Oh, here we go. Okay. Whew. I was about to give up. Like, the pressures of being live and trying to find something was about to get to me. All right. So this is going to tie back to Tesla, I think, pretty nicely. So I put out this poll to see what people thought the minimum salary they would need to feel wealthy or rich. And this was really inspired off of this other survey I had seen, and I was just curious, like, how accurate it was. And the funny thing is, the way they broke it out was based off of generations. So, what's the Gen Zs, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, right? It surveyed them to see what they would need to make, what salary they would need to make in order to feel wealthy or rich, right? I don't really like the word rich, because rich is, I don't know, I think it's it's not as good of a word as wealthy, I think. There's many reasons. I just want to go on a tangent here. Anyway, so I thought I'd put this survey out to people as well to see what they think. And so what was interesting is the vast majority of people actually said 200,000 or above, which was interesting, because I don't think 37, call it 38% of people are making $200,000 or above. You know what? I should have specified in this if it's by household or by individual, because I doubt most people are making $200,000 per year individually. But again, this is aspirational, right? What would make you feel a certain way? And a lot of times, the people who think this would be the number, their salaries are really down here, or maybe even down here. What I found very interesting was that 26% of people actually said 75,000 to 100,000, which to me says either one of two things. Either they have a good amount of savings already, or they're living, or their current income is below this, probably like $30,000 to $50,000. Anyways, why is this important? Well, I thought it would be fun to do an exercise. Let me actually stop sharing my screen here. And I will share again in a second, or at least I'll try to. Let me see. I'm going to pull up a calculator because there's some good signals, I think, for us to look at when it comes to let me see, how do I share this? Cool. Let me see. Can I make this bigger? I can. Look at that. All right. So I think there's some good signals when it comes to where things can go with the stock, when Tesla and financial independence, right? So to me, that should be everybody's goal, is to get to financial independence. It's if you're not thinking about financial independence, like I'm not saying you have to stop working or anything, but your goal should 1,000% always be financial independence. It shouldn't be to retire at a certain age. That is the wrong mindset. Your mindset should be, I want X amount of money so that I can get to financial independence and be able to do what I want to do with my life. And if I want to work, I can work. So anyways, why do I want to pull this up? Well, we've heard Ron Barron and we've heard Elon Musk now a couple times talk about 2030 getting to about a $4.5 trillion valuation. All right, so it's very interesting numbers and rather specific, especially coming from Elon. We've heard Ron Barron say this. We've never really heard Elon say that number, right? He said Apple and Aramco together. So call that $4.5 trillion valuation. So if we assume that Ron and Elon are correct, and today I heard it yet again from Gali. Gali also used that same type number, about 4 to 5 trillion. If we use those, can we work backwards to figure out where we need to be, or how many shares we need of Tesla? All right, so let's just start with that. So let's say it's a $4.5 trillion valuation. All right, so previously with Tesla, that would have been about a $4,500 stock price. So we had a stock split, right? So let's see what that would be here. So let's say we did $4,500, divide that by 3. Okay, so Tesla would have to get to a $1,500 stock price after the split in order for us to get to that $4.5 trillion valuation. Okay, so this is what you need here. You have $1,500. Okay, that's great. So we know that number off the top of our head. Now, a lot of people are saying $200,000 is what they need per year in order to feel comfortable. Okay, so let me just put this up here. That's 2,000. I really wish they put commas in here. That's too many. 200. There we go. Okay, and so we're going to times that by 1.15. Why? Well, because we always need to account for taxes, right? So capital gain tax, anything essentially under $500,000 will be 15%. So we'll just go ahead and factor that in. So really you want $230,000 so you can live off your $200,000. So that's a lot of money. All right, I subscribe to the 5% rule. I know a lot of people probably heard of the 4% rule. If you don't know, the 4% rule is essentially saying that there have been studies done for, I guess, about 100 years, where if at any point you were to have retired and only lived off 4% of what you had in your nest egg, that you essentially would be able to live in perpetuity without essentially depleting your funds. Now, the 5% rule, the reason I subscribe to that is because the difference between the 4% and 5% rule is the 4% rule is supposed to be like something about like 98% efficacy, whereas the 5% is about a 95% efficacy. So the way I look at it is, hey, I have no problem with 5% or a 95% efficacy. So let's say that's the case. So in order to get to that number, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this by 20. All right. So essentially, this is what we need. We need $4.6 million in order to get to that magic number of $200,000 a year after taxes. Okay, so how many shares do we need? We still haven't gotten to that number. Well, we're going to divide this by that $4.5 trillion number, which would put Tesla's stock price post-split at $1,500. So let's divide that by 1,500. So that means we need a grand total of 3,066 shares. 3,066 shares. If you assume we're looking at, say, $100 stock price, if you could buy all in one lump sum, that means that you essentially need $306,000 in order to get to that. So that's essentially the math I want to break out for you guys, and to maybe like just be a little more, aspirational. So yes, things are rough right now, but figure out what your numbers are. All right. We've had Ron Barron, we've had Elon essentially give us this $4.5 trillion number. Figure out what your number is. You want to have $200,000 a year? Okay. You want 300,000, 400, 500? You only need 25,000? Do you only need $100,000? Figure out what your number is, right? And just work your way backwards, because this is when you want to start accumulating. You want to know what that number is in your head. You want to know what your share count is, so that then you can go ahead and you can start accumulating. Now, none of this financial advice. The only advice I would actually give you is to think about this, just to think about your future. Think about not an age, but think about a number, because that will really allow you to be free. Anyways, I just want to round that out with that from the poll I put out there, which I thought was very interesting. So anyways, let's read some of these comments. Millionaires are no longer considered rich. Need a few million in assets for retirement, nest egg. 100K salary disappear quickly after tax, housing, basic necessity, resulting in minimal savings. So I kind of agree with this, because it varies, right? It depends on your life and your choices. The idea of having millions isn't to spend the millions or live. It's to live off a portion of that. Like, what can those millions earn for me? And what if you don't have a house? What if you just have your taxes and insurance that you have to pay for, right? That changes the ball game immensely. But you're right. I don't disagree with this. Millions is kind of subjective these days. And it's funny because I also see a lot of people pretend to have millions and they don't. There's a lot of I'm not saying Raymond does this obviously, but I'm just saying you see a lot of this on YouTube. You see a lot of it on Instagram. So it's kind of funny. Let's see. I do buy Tesla. Some on margin. Will cover that with savings or income if needed. Very small investor. Yeah. And that's, look, again, you're obviously experienced. You obviously know what you're doing and you have a game plan. That's the most important part, right? And you already have the funds. That's the biggest thing. Margin can be very beneficial. Margin makes a lot of sense in many ways. Great examples right here, what Janbei is saying. Let's say that he wanted to take out a $100,000 margin loan, right? Why? Not because he doesn't have the money, but because he doesn't want to use that money yet. Maybe he has $100,000 in cash, wants to use $100,000 on margin, and if something happens, okay, well, he's got the cash there, but why would he want to tie up that capital right now if he doesn't have to? So he's doing it in a very smart, thoughtful way. The problem is a lot of people aren't doing that. A lot of people are just gambling. And that's where people get caught real quickly. Let's see. US are very different. We have health insurance for free. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Especially in the States, your best health insurance, in my opinion, is going to be your gym. I think staying healthy, working out is the best thing you can do. Load up on shares, sub 120s. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially my plan right now. Again, I'm looking at anywhere between 100 and 110 right now. Again, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, all right? Tomorrow we might go up to $300. Hooray, that's great. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's more likely we have more pain, a lot of headwinds still, a lot of macro issues. But I think as we get past January, just think about it. We get past January, we'll have at least 2 more CPI numbers. We'll have more PCE numbers. The Fed will have probably done another rate hike by then. All the Tesla stuff will have gone through. We'll know if Russia's going to do anything crazy, if the U.S. gives Ukraine Patriot missiles. We'll know the state of China. We'll know the state of Giga Shanghai. We'll know what's going on in Mexico. I mean, there's just so much will have been known by then. Now, granted, more things could come up that we're not even aware of or that could happen, or maybe all of a sudden in January there's a Tesla event that is announced and that sends the stock up. So who knows, right? But I think it's more likely that we stay where we are or we see a little more pain. But again, this isn't like doomsday. This isn't me saying I hope that we go lower. I don't want to go lower. I want to go higher. but I'm prepared if we go lower, and that's why I'm not buying. I mean, for a while there, I was literally buying every week. So, I got a thumbs down. That sucks. I'm sorry you don't like it. All right, let's see. Every 7 billion Tesla puts into solar, they get back 1 billion. 30 plus year, it's like guaranteed income for corporations. I'll never go bankrupt. Yeah, they are. That's great. They are definitely in a very, very strong position. Let's see. Been selling covered calls on my Tesla shares and cleaning up on premiums. Only risk is it runs away and my shares get exercised. But right now, yeah. So I've thought about doing this as well. Okay, so if you don't know what he's doing, essentially what he's saying is so you have call options and put options, right? And so he's saying he's selling calls, which it's essentially a bearish position. So he's selling the calls to people who think the stocks can go up, and he's selling the contract. Now, it's kind of a win-win for him right now because he immediately gets that premium. John gets to keep that premium no matter what. And if Tesla were to run up, right, let's say he were to go to $200 and he sold $200 contracts, he keeps that premium, and all he has to do is say it's one contract, 100 of his shares, okay, they get taken away from him at $200. So it's a way to sell your shares as well. Warren Buffett is famous for doing this, for selling and buying shares through selling calls or selling puts. So it's a great strategy, to be honest, if you know what you're doing. And I would definitely say calls, don't be naked. That's the biggest thing. Normally I don't ever give that advice. I normally always say be naked in life. That's always a good thing. But when it comes to options, you don't want to be naked. And that essentially just means that either you don't have the cash if you sell puts to buy it, or you don't have the shares to sell if you sell calls, or to give back. Anyways, let's see. All right, pretty much caught up on the comments here, I think. One more. I just would like to do a home invasion on Musk's house. I don't know. Proud Union soldier. I don't even know what that means. Make me laugh. Tesla spent $10 billion on stock buyback or new factory. That's a good question. I definitely think new factory makes the most sense for the bigger picture. But whatever they do, I think will be the right choice. It's, again, this whole notion where everybody keeps trying to tell them what to do, right? I mean, look, I love Ross. We've done streams together. I enjoy him. He's a very charismatic, eccentric person. Gary Black, very knowledgeable. I think he's very important for the community. Gives a very particular point of view. Like all these people, I love them. They're great, but frankly, I don't agree with them. I don't think the board needs to do anything. I don't think Elon needs to do anything. I don't think Elon's distracted. Just this notion that Elon's distracted, he should be working at Tesla. Just the brass that people have to think that they know what his schedule should be. Okay, so let's say that he's at Tesla. What do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? He probably has everything already organized. He already has everyone doing what they need to do. He's there when he needs to be there. And when he's not there, he can be more efficient with his time. All right? It makes no sense. He knows when he has to be there. So to me, this whole notion of, well, Elon is getting distracted or the board needs to do something about this, guys, you just got to let it go. Let's just focus on the company. Focus on the fundamentals. Don't get lost in all this stuff. Yes, stock's down. It sucks. But you're just dragging down into the mud, and you're becoming, with conversation like that, you're becoming short-term investors, or your viewpoint is. Because again, it hasn't been that long. We are in the midst of a freaking crisis. All right? Look at China. Look at us here in the States. Look at NASDAQ. Look at S&P 500. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, Tesla has sold off way more than what the NASDAQ has. Look, that's irrelevant. It really is. It really is irrelevant, because you can make the same argument going the other way. When Tesla was shooting up and the NASDAQ wasn't following it, right? Well, was that all because Elon wasn't doing something else that he's doing now? It's like, even though political stuff, look, I had like a back and forth with someone on Twitter, and they're very respectful. So, kudos to them for not, escalating things and just having a rational conversation, a difference of opinions. But we were agreeing on just how amicable the conversation was going. But in my opinion, to tell someone they can't spend the money they want, or they can't spend their money the way they want, or to tell someone that they cannot say what they think or believe, I think that is just not okay. I don't care if he's the CEO of a company, right? I'm getting hurt just as much as everybody else. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to have some kind of conviction in your morals at some point. And for me, telling someone they can't do something because I think it's wrong, because I don't agree with it, like, that's insanity to me. That's absolutely insanity to me, right? You can say what you want to say, even if I don't agree with it. It's okay. You're allowed to do that. I'm going to be fine. My feelings aren't going to get hurt, right? Even if I disagree with you. And guess what? We can still go and hang out. We can still go grab dinner. We can still go grab a drink, right? It's not the end of the world. And we need more of that. I mean, like, I see all these people. I'm like, geez, like, do you even have relationships? Like, the fact that you can't even have disagreements. And what blows my mind even more is the fact that everything has to be political for people, right? It's like, if anybody says something, and this isn't even Elon anymore. I mean, this is just me just kind of ranting about my annoyance with a lot of things in the world right now. But if I were to tell you my thoughts and my opinions on, gun control, on abortion, on the border, on military, on the war in Ukraine, if I were to tell you all of my nuanced thoughts on everything, you'd go back and forth, be like, oh, are you a Republican? Oh, are you a Democrat? Oh, are you a Republican? Oh, are you a Democrat? Like, the fact that it's like just this, you have to be one. No, like, why does it have to be Republican or Democrat? Why can't I just be me and I have these opinions and these thoughts? Why does everything have to be tied to red or blue? Like, I really wonder. I mean, is this how it is in other countries? Like, is it so just that black and white for everybody? Like, oh, you're either red or you're blue, and that's it. And like, you can't be anything else. Or if you think these three things, then you're red. And if you think these three things, you're blue. I mean, man, what a bad way to go through life, to be so shallow about things, right? Like, life is best in the gray and the blurry and the mud. Like, that's where all the fun is. Anyways, those are just my thoughts. And again, I may not be right, and I'm fine with that. I got two thumb downs. That's fine. Like, I respect you for doing that. Like, you don't like it, that's fine. That's great. You're like, I'm not mad at you. Like, express your thoughts. That's fine. We just need more of that. I wish people would just like chill off Elon with that. I mean, even the stuff with Twitter. Like, maybe this is because there just aren't so many engineers in the world, and there definitely aren't so many engineers in the world that are vocal or outspoken, or companies even that show what happens in the engineering environment. But what you're seeing with Twitter and all the feedback and the hate, right? Oh, Twitter Blue is a disaster. Oh, what's Elon doing? Canceling these people and not those people. Oh, he's changing his idea about polls and who should and should. This is the process. This is literally engineering at its best. We have ideas, we'll implement. Oh, that wasn't a good idea. Okay, let's try again. Go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you get a good result. It's what we see with the FSD beta, right? It's the exact same thing. It's textbook, right? You have an idea, you have a hypothesis, you test it out, hopefully you get results quickly. You take that, you iterate, you move on. It's this feedback loop, right? And you want to just continue and continue and continue, and hopefully it works like a spiral staircase to where you're making improvements along the way. But along the way, you're failing, right? And then you get to a good part or good results. But the thing is, you don't see engineers talking about this in general, right? Engineers just aren't. Like, I'm an anomaly, I guess, but you just don't see many engineers out there talking or being very social, or just, having YouTube channels. And you definitely don't see CEOs out there doing Twitter spaces or engaging with the community. I mean, name one other CEO that engages with their community the way Elon does. I mean, like, who? Definitely not Tim Cook, right? I can't think of it. I mean, if I'm like really trying to stretch my mind right now, maybe a Mark Cuban. Like, I can't even think of anyone else. I mean, I would love to see if anyone has any ideas here. Anyways, let's see. Let's see. 100. Nick, Elon should be okay to say things. Yeah, I mean, look, you know what's really funny about Elon saying things and people have an issue with it? Is that this is such a recent issue, you know? Like, well, it's sort of a recent issue. It's a recent issue that the Tesla community cares so much about it. It wasn't before, right? And it's not the first time the media has ran with things, and Elon hasn't changed, right? I mean, whether it's him smoking pot with Joe Rogan, whether it's him talking about taking Tesla private for 420, whether it's him saying Tesla stock price is too high, or, I mean, like all this stuff, right? Elon's been like this, whether it's the pedo stuff, whether like Elon has always been Elon. What's changed is a lot of the Tesla community. And like, that's, I understand. I have empathy for it. Like I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand. Right. And it's the pain, it's the emotion of losing a lot of your wealth, but it'll be back. Everything, look, this will end. Okay. And the more time that you go through and you see, you know, how much time we've lived in this kind of painful period, the better it's going to be when we come out. All right. These periods don't tend to last that long. I think the longest, 700 something days, the longest period that we had like in a recession, a downtrend, a bear market, I think it was like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought it was something like 700 something days. And so what I would really hang my hat on is two things. One, I would hang my hat on the math we did earlier. Figure out what your number is, figure out how many shares you need to get to where you need to be for financial independence, and focus on that maniacally. Focus it like that is the only goal you have in life, and that's where your true north is. All right? I mean, don't ignore your family, don't ignore your job, right? Those, you should be focused on work harder than you've ever focused, and you should make your family always your top priority no matter what. But outside of that, this should be your goal. All right? Moving from that, the other thing I would be really focused on, and I would be very, very aware of this so that you can just disperse all the noise, is that we are at a point where we've had Berlin open, Austin open. We've had S&P 500 upgrade. We've had the stock split. We see what's going on with the FSD beta. We're going to have Cybertruck coming out. Semi-truck just launched. We have the factories ramping up. We're going to have the most production we've ever had. We've got more cash on hand than we've ever had. We have zero debt. Like just, I mean, I'm not even listing everything. AI day. You can go on and on. We have all these things going on, and all Tesla has done is go down. What that is, it's this spring that is getting compressed and compressed and compressed. And so now we have all this potential energy. And all this potential energy is waiting for this hand to move out so it can spring out and all that kinetic energy can be released. So what's holding it down? It's the macro. It's what's going on there. It's China. It's Russia, Ukraine. It's all these things. Eventually that will end. And eventually that hand will come off. And we will, in my opinion, really reap the rewards of all these good things that have been happening. But you know what? It's just like going to the gym. It's winter season. This is when you really want to put in the work so that, you know, you can have that quote unquote summer bod. Now, I don't personally believe in that kind of working out. You know, I believe in just staying lean year round, but that's me. It's a good metaphor nevertheless. All right. Let me look through a couple more of these comments. I can't say no to Mark Twain comment. Mark Twain. Everyone talks about the weather, but can't do anything about it. Yes, exactly. You can't do anything about it. You know what you can do about, or things about? You can figure out what your number is for shares. You can figure out when you want to buy, figure out what you want to do, figure out what will make you financially independent, and what you want your life to look like after that. Do you want to keep working? Do you love what you do? If you're like me, I love what I do. I honestly was, I think it was yesterday, I was talking to my wife. I genuinely genuinely love the team I'm working with right now. I don't think I've ever been so fired up about work at all at a previous time I could think of. It's wild to be so invigorated with work right now. So yeah, I mean, and travel. I love travel. My family's coming down from Spain. My two little brothers will be here. My parents will come down, and they're gonna come down for New Year. So looking forward to that. So yeah, I mean, again, like just focus on things that matter. Keep your head down. There's a lot of noise on Twitter. I respect everybody on Twitter that I engage with. But there's a lot of emotion there, and if you're not good at keeping that compartmentalized, just stay off it. Maybe, it's not good for the psyche if it's something that's gonna bring you down. Very idealistic or naive. If you spew MAGA crap, I don't like it. I just express my opinion. Yeah, and that's fine. Hey, to each their own. I would still grab a beer with you, right? Like the only thing you could do that would bother me, that would make me not want to hang out with you or talk with you probably, is one, if you're just being disrespectful to people for no reason, and two, if you're just always negative. Have you ever met a person like that who's just like always negative? There's always something to complain about. It's like, geez, man, like go get laid or something. Like go do something that's gonna make you happy. Like just stop crying and complaining 24/7. And frankly, that's kind of what this episode's kind of been about, or the stream is just kind of all the complaining I keep hearing on Twitter. It's like, come on, guys. Like yesterday, I literally just talked about how I'm so excited about FSD beta version 11 coming out, and everybody's just sitting there crying and complaining about, oh, Elon this, oh, Elon that, oh, the stock, oh, we got to do a buyback. It's like, guys, people, let's just move on. It's going to be fine. All right, let's see. I feel the same way. Dave Lee has been frustrated lately too. I think they are getting too emotional. Yeah, I agree. I take Dave Lee with a grain of salt with some of the stuff he's been saying though, because I think Dave Lee is just, I think, trying to solve a problem when he says a lot of stuff he's saying. I could be wrong, but I look at Dave Lee as like, I call him Tesla Yoda. All right. So you remember, I coined that. The first person I said it to was Farzad. So he knows that I came up with that. Tesla Yoda. That's Dave Lee. And hopefully he wouldn't see that as any sign of disrespect. I have a immense respect for Dave Lee and for Yoda. So to me, it's a compliment. But I think Dave Lee is like, I don't know. He's like that spiritual, calm voice that's like, maybe XYZ would help, whatever. I don't think he's coming from a place of like trying to tell Elon what to do, maybe just give suggestions, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But yeah, great comment here. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is interesting. All right, so I want to read two more of these comments here. I haven't actually read them, but a couple of things popped out to me that look interesting. So let's see. Raymond says, need Q4 update on progress for 4680 robotaxi pilot plans, semi-price production, Model 3 Highland pricing and cost. These will be key for brilliant comment here by Raymond. I 100% agree with this. Yeah, if we could get all this, I definitely think we'll get an update on 4680. We saw some drone footage today that they're just stockpiling them, which I think it's pretty obvious that they're stockpiling 4680. I think they stopped making Model Ys with it because they're like, well, why are we going to waste these batteries? It's the same. They're doing the exact same thing that all the people who are waiting to order their Teslas are doing. They're waiting for January 1. So Tesla's waiting for January 1 to use the 4680s because guess what? They'll get credits for that from the government, and all the people waiting to buy are doing the same thing. So it's the same game. But I do think 4680 is making good progress. What I would like to hear more is not so much by volume. I would like to hear what the progress is with the power density for the 4680, right? See what the update is with that, with the cathode production, with the anode production, to see, how the jellies are progressing, if they've been able to work out the compressing issues that they were having. I I would like a battery day part 2 is guess what I'm really saying. And then the robo-taxi pilot plan. This is such a must. No regulator is going to allow Tesla, or maybe not even regulator, no municipality is going to let Tesla just have a robo-taxi fleet go live without a human behind it, without some kind of test pilot, without any kind of verification. Right? It won't happen. So it would be nice to see kind of a roadmap of how they plan on rolling this out. There hasn't been a lot of color on that. Semi-price, I don't think that they'll release. Well, they might release semi-price. They won't release, I don't think, like the margins or the cost of it, which really semi-price is irrelevant. It's the cost we want to know. Production, I think I think 50,000 is the goal for next year. Did I make that up? Maybe 2024. So at some point, Elon said something about 50,000 semis was the goal. Model 3 Highland pricing and cost. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, I've been in this camp that Tesla is not, the next product's going to be the robotaxi. That's the camp I've been in. But this Highland project, makes me wonder if they're kind of saying, maybe we don't need another vehicle that's in a lower bracket. Maybe we just make the Model 3 that category, right? It almost seems to make more sense to me to do that. Like, can you get the Model 3 to be more cost effective and eke out maybe the same, if not more margin from it, and not even waste your time with another lower cost vehicle? And then you have the Model Y, you have the S, the X, the Cybertruck, and then you have your robotaxi. I almost feel like that's what they're going to do. I could be wrong. And then, so I think these will all be key for Tesla stock. But again, I don't think any of this will matter until the Fed does something. So the Fed, don't fight the Fed. Don't fight the Fed. That's where we are. All right, so then there's one other one I want to look at here. Hey, Nico. What up, homie? Brock, I like the way this is starting. I'm not sweating the stock price. For us long-term Tesla bulls, this buying opportunity is the best Christmas gift we could have ever got. Thanks for being a wild card, Elon. I love this. Yes, Brock, right on, brother. I love this. That's exactly not how I'm seeing this. Look, you can see this as two ways. You can be doom and gloom about it. You can be upset that everything's down. Or look at the cup half full and understand that the rest of that cup is going to get filled up again, one way or another, and just be optimistic about it and figure out what your plan is. 2030 is not that far away. All of this will end eventually. And, you'll probably regret that you didn't do something today. None of this financial advice. You got to do what's right for you, right for your family, and figure it all out. All right. Well, I'm going to drop off here. I hear my dog going crazy upstairs. I think my wife's playing with them, and I want to go hang out with them. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for the time. I know you guys can do many other things at, this time on a Wednesday, but appreciate you spending it with me. And I really do enjoy doing the live stream. So I wanted to do it today because I just like to engage with you guys. It's honestly a lot more fun. I'm thinking about maybe switching over to a different format, like what Farzad does, so I can bring you guys on video. So maybe we'll figure something out to where we can do that. All right. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.